Investment advisors and portfolio managers hosted stakeholders in the Nigerian financial and capital market space to its 2017 forum to explore the theme Investor Protection Rights in the Volatile Market. Giving her opening remarks, the president of Investment Advisors and Portfolio Managers, Mrs. Toyin Sani, said since inception in 1981, the body has been focused on developing first-class professionals for the financial services industry.
Our association was established in 1981 by some iconic members of this industry, chief amongst whom was our founding president, the late and highly distinguished Mr. Gamaliel Onosode, also the late Mr. F.N. Akwe, and Mr. Ajibola Ogunshola were some of the founding fathers of this great association. In the past years since the establishment of the association has been engaged both in development of first-class professionals for the Nigerian finance industry, and also has been engaged in public advocacy in the interest of the development of the market. We remain committed to these objectives, and one of the avenues that we use to express ourselves and to move the market forward is this event that we hold annually. The topic that we have chosen for this annual members forum is the protection of investor interests in a volatile global economy. And for me, I think that this is topical. I believe that we all know that if ever there was a volatile market, it is the market in which we operate across sub-Saharan Africa, and specifically Nigeria. Now, does volatility mean that this market is not attractive to investors? No. But does it mean that investors should be adequately educated, adequately informed, adequately protected when they operate in our market? I would say absolutely yes. For us, we think this is a time for regulators and operators alike to come together and articulate the specific risks that exist for investors in our market, and also come together and agree on the appropriate way in which we will protect investors in our market, examine the protections that are available for investors in this market against the global standards of best practices, and confirm the level of compliance and conformance, and then, or conformity, and also articulate what we think needs to be done to bring us to the right standards.
In his keynote address, Mr. Yinka Sani, CEO Stanbic IBTC Holdings, who was represented by Olubunmi Dayo Olagunju, CEO Stanbic IBTC Asset Management, gave 4 recommendations for investor protection and improving the investment advisory and portfolio management space.
The first recommendation is on investor education. Mrs. Sani touched on that earlier. A broader-based approach to educating investors should be adopted industry-wide. Investor education and enlightenment should not only focus on investment products and solutions, but should deliberately cover critical issues such as the rights of investors, processes for addressing grievances, arbitration, whistleblowing mechanisms, as well as right to sue and seek redress via the Investment and Securities Tribunal. It is therefore imperative for market operators to ensure that they conduct their respective businesses according to the rules of engagement within applicable laws. Second recommendation is on alignment with global financial reporting standards. It's also important for entities in Nigeria to follow global financial standards in the conduct of their businesses. For instance, such rules as the Basel, the IFRS continue to evolve with time. Local players should ensure they are not left behind by maintaining the discipline of studying these standards for better understanding and being proactive with implementation where it is considered beneficial to investors. These standards were created to provide more transparency and prevent surprises that could lead to a loss of value to investors, and as such would ultimately reduce the risk of losses and protect the long-term interest of investors. The third recommendation is on the adoption of Global Investment Performance Standards, popularly called the GIPS. These standards are created and funded by the CFA Institute to provide an ethical framework for calculation and presentation of investment performance history by investment firms. The GIPS is necessary due to a lack of reporting consistency, comparability, and regulatory guidance. These standards therefore encourage full disclosure, transparency, stronger internal controls, and risk management framework. It is worthy to mention that around 85% of the top 100 global asset management firms with assets in excess of $40 trillion under management claim compliance with the GIPS. Nigerian asset managers should therefore aspire to be among the top asset management firms by adopting the GIPS. The fourth recommendation he has is on support and compliance with the codes of corporate governance. All stakeholders should actively engage with the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria in shaping the code of corporate governance for institutions with the best interest of investors and the public in mind. The Code of Corporate Governance provides an assurance to investors that their investments will be protected from unethical practices by those entrusted to manage such investments. It is also necessary for the relevant regulatory bodies to ensure that the provisions of this code and other related regulations or laws that have been put in place to safeguard investors' interests are duly enforced without fear or favor.
The forum also featured a panel session.
We need to find a way of marketing and selling our products through well-trained investment advisors who are not just there either on a commission basis or to hit targets, but to really understand the customers. When you have a customer, you need to build a relationship. It is not about, okay, I have a target of 10 billion naira to hit tomorrow, right? And then because you've got 1 billion naira from this customer, it is only when maturity happens that you remember that customer.
The basic line really is an experienced, right, and a competent advisor. Once we have that, then the market can begin to grow. And then all fund managers or investment advisors have to also begin to work together rather than competing. This market is big enough for all of us, right? And so it's important for us to understand that when we do provide the good service, we gain the customer's trust, right? And then the market grows.
These days, we have two important codes: Asset Manager Code of Conduct, and then that is from the perspective of the practitioner. And then to protect the investor, we also have what we call Investor Statement of Rights. All right? Particularly for the individual investors, there are about 10 of them. What are my rights? At the last forum, where we all gathered, I preached about, look, okay, I see some farms, they put it in a very beautiful plaque, hang it on the wall, but it's almost, inconspicuous. So why don't we adopt another practice? Put this thing like in a roll-up banner at the lobby. Let every investor, prospective or existing investor with the farm, see what my rights are. See the 10. I think number 7 is what strikes me the most. Communication, timely, accurate.
I believe firms, when they invest in their employees, are not a one-off investment, but a continuous investment, almost like what you see happening in the medical profession, even in banks. Whether it's recertification, they need to do periodic trainings to keep them grounded, so that when they engage with retail investors, that comes across clearly to the investor. He sees that you're not just out to make a quick buck, but you have his best interest at heart.
I think the professional bodies really, for IAPM, we need to come up with a body of standards. And I mean, like for CMAP, you have a standard way that you must present the advice and the information to the client. There's a standard way. If we come up with such a thing, and we also publish, then people know what to hold the advisor accountable for, that this is what I should expect from you. Now, if you come and I say I want to double, that's my want. But after I interview, you will know my need. By the time you take me through intelligently, I'll say, okay, I think this is the route I should take, because I can sleep here and there's no way I can protect that risk. I'm not in a position to manage it myself, so it's better I follow this advice and go through. So it is the way we present issues and the way we also present our profession that will help people to have confidence.
Mrs. Toyin Sani, president of the Investment Advisors and Portfolio Managers, speaks on the key takeaways from the 2017 forum and the role the organization will be playing going forward.
For me, the key takeaways from today's speech were, first of all, the role of the regulators in having an environment that is investor-friendly, that is having an environment that gives confidence to investors, the role of the operators ourselves in terms of investor education. We should be proactive in investor education, recognizing the fact also that investment advice should be given with specific reference to the particular needs of the client. So a situation in which you have one-page forms to sign on clients and put them all in one single bucket are not the standards that IAPM recommends. On the contrary, we expect that investment advisors, fund managers should take extensive interviews with clients to understand their financial needs, their investment needs, and then be able to introduce the right products to them. We talked about the retail investors and how collective investment schemes continue to be the advisable route of entry to the market for retail investors. So those are some of the takeaways from today's.
You play a very key role in the financial market. What should we be looking at from IAPM from next year?
IAPM will continue to do its two-pronged activities. Retained within IAPM itself will be our training, capacity building and development that we have been doing for about 37 years now. On the other side, we will have the Corporate and Individual Investment Managers Association. So we're calling the CIIA, which has just been sprung off out of IAPM, and that will then be the trade group for corporate and individual investment advisors.